In this video, we're going to take a neighborhood map tour of the Baldwin neighborhood in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Stay tuned. We're taking a map tour today of the neighborhood of Cambridge, known as the Baldwin neighborhood. Now, what's interesting about the name is for years, it was known as the Agassiz neighborhood. And of course, things being as they are, it's still known to many by that name because it was the name of the neighborhood for so many years. But in 2020, the Cambridge City Council actually voted to rename the neighborhood Baldwin. So Louis Agassiz was a Harvard professor in the 19th century, Swiss-born scientist, and he was a proponent of scientific racism, and this is what led the Cambridge City Council to change the name, and they decided to rename it the Baldwin neighborhood for Maria Baldwin, the first Black female school principal in the Northeast, and for whom already in the neighborhood there is a Cambridge public school named. So now it's the Baldwin neighborhood. As you can see here on Google Earth on the screen, it's still showing up as Agassiz because I think it's going to take a little time online for all of the places the neighborhood is known as Agassiz to be updated and renamed as Baldwin. But as we look at the map, let me just first step back and show you. So here's Cambridge on the map, and I'm using my cursor to give you the general outline of the neighborhood or of the city. And then highlighted on the screen is this triangular neighborhood known as Baldwin. You can see it's still in Google Maps as Agassiz. And so if I zero in on it, you can see it runs from Harvard Square up Massachusetts Avenue, and then the border of the triangle here is with Somerville, basically running along Beacon Street. And then the last side of the triangle is Kirkland. So this is the Baldwin neighborhood. So if we take a look at it on Google Maps, or I'm sorry, Google Earth, you can see how much of the neighborhood belongs to Harvard. Lesley University is also found in this neighborhood. So Lesley and Harvard have a large presence in the Baldwin neighborhood, but there are residential streets as well, especially in this section, quite a few trees. This is the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, also found in this neighborhood. And again, in this portion of the neighborhood above Harvard and Lesley's main campus areas, there's a larger section of residential addresses as well. Lesley also has a strong presence here at this point of the triangle of the neighborhood, which is Porter Square. So it's just interesting to see the neighborhood both on Google Maps, there it is, and Google Earth. It just gives you a sense of where you are. So we're going to take a tour of the neighborhood, and this interactive map of the Baldwin neighborhood is found on cambridgerealestate.com. So you can visit the interactive map there and spend more time on each of these pins and learn more. So the first stop on our tour is Harvard Law School at the corner of the neighborhood closest to Harvard Square here. And you can see on the map how big the campus is for Harvard. All of this tan area is university property for the most part. And so Harvard is a big part of the Baldwin neighborhood, no surprise. And the Harvard Law School campus is wonderful. It's bringing in many famous people for special events and to give talks. And, you know, there's a vibrant, lively student body, and it's one of the most prestigious law schools in the country. Not far from the law school, you can see here, is the Berkman Klein Center for Internet and Society. there's so many places that exist at Harvard. It's such an amazing university, and there's so much going on. This would be a good example of that. And then running along the side of the Baldwin neighborhood, defining its western edge, if you will, is Massachusetts Avenue, where there's many shops and services. Shown on the screen here is Cambridge Common, a restaurant with picnic tables out front. It's your basic straight ahead hangout, basic fare, get a beer and a burger. And what's kind of fun is down below is the Lizard Lounge, which has live music. And I would have loved to have been there when some years ago Lake Street Dive, one of my favorite bands, performed live when they were just getting started in 2004. And I have actually on cambridgerealestate.com a blog post about that performance, and you can actually see some footage of their night at the Lizard Lounge. So it's great that there's this live music venue below, and it's a lot of fun. Further up the block, there's a Made by Me paint your own pottery studio, family night out for fun with kids and actually adults too. And then in the block off Sacramento Street, there is the largest green space in the neighborhood, Sacramento Field. And I have a picture of it here above my head. It's tucked away off the street. You have to take a footpath from Sacramento Street to get to Sacramento Field. So it's a bit of a hidden jewel. And located just in front of it, closer to the street itself, is the Sacramento Street Community Garden, where local residents tend to their plot. And you can see from the photo here how beautiful it is in season. So Sacramento Street Community Garden and Sacramento Field are really wonderful resources for the Baldwin neighborhood. Back out on Massachusetts Avenue is one of my favorite places. Ward Maps are where they sell antique maps of the city of Cambridge. I actually have purchased one here that hangs in my own home for the neighborhood I live in, closer to Inman Square, but they just also have a lot of interesting gifts celebrating the city of Cambridge. So it's a great destination. They're also online, and so you can check them out. The Mary Prentice Inn is a Greek revival bed and breakfast. And how wonderful, if you're visiting Cambridge, to stay in a building like this in this neighborhood, to almost feel like you're experiencing what it means to live in this neighborhood. In fact, I feel like essentially you are. If you stay here, it's just lovely. And again, it's tucked in on Prentice Street, hence the name, the Mary Prentice Inn, and it's delightful. Nomad has been in the neighborhood for some time. They've relocated, and they have an array of around the world fair trade products. I enjoy going in there. I've purchased many things over the years, and it's one of those one of a kind shops that give some character to the neighborhood. The Abbey restaurant is nearby. It's a bi-level eatery and bar, and I'm happy to say that they now have some outdoor seating, and in-season dining outside at the Abbey is great, good fun. And again, another, nice element along Massachusetts Avenue is Judy Jetson Hair Salon. Again, it's nice to have these neighborhood destinations. Clothwear for women's fashions and accessories used to be in Harvard Square, where Toscano, the restaurant, now is, and they moved out to this portion of Mass Ave. And then Lesley University has really expanded and grown up in the last so many years. And a big piece of that was the construction of the Lunder Art Center, shown here on the screen, this state-of-the-art building designed for working artists. And they've got, all sorts of studio space and exhibition space inside. And it's been a real strong building to emerge in the Porter Square area. Leslie, of course, has also recently added a Brattle Street campus, having acquired the Episcopal Divinity School grounds. Porter Square itself is at the tip of the neighborhood, the point of the triangle, and there's a T station here with service to Harvard and beyond to Boston, and in the opposite direction to Davis Square and beyond that to Alewife. So there's also a commuter rail line here, and Porter Square is also home to a fairly large shopping market mall with a Star Market and a bookstore and some other shops and services. And I have actually, as you can see me above myself, put a video together on some of my favorite destinations in Porter Square. So obviously it's a benefit to the neighborhood to have Porter Square as a destination for travel and transportation and shopping at the tip of the hood. And then on Oxford Street, which is parallel to Massachusetts Avenue, there's a lot of residential real estate and this little home decor and gift store called Pod, which is sort of fun. Speaking of Oxford Street, back in 1970, Love Story, the film, was released with Ryan O'Neal and Ally McGraw. There they are, our love story lovers. And it was shot, the film, at Harvard University and in the Baldwin neighborhood. And here's a photo at the top of the screen that shows Oxford Street in 1970, and then beneath it, a modern day photo recreating that same scene. And it was on Oxford Street that the main characters rented an apartment and where a number of films were seen. And of course, it was on Oxford Street that Ollie came home to find Jen on the steps, and the famous line was uttered, love means you never have to say you're sorry. So it's really fun that the Baldwin neighborhood has this history of the Love Story film having been filmed in part in the neighborhood. And so it's just a nice little bit of history to share with you about the neighborhood. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, there is the Maria Baldwin School. It's a Cambridge public school, grades pre-K through 5 at the corner of Oxford and Sacramento. You see it here on the screen. And again, it's Maria Baldwin who gives her name not just to the school, but now to the neighborhood. There is a organization, the Agassiz Baldwin Community, which is located on Sacramento Street as well, and serves as a forum for the community. Right behind it is the Maud Morgan Art Center, and it's named for an artist who lived in this neighborhood for many years, and they have programs for students of all ages, and it's a great resource for the community. I love how colorful the building is, as you see on the screen. It's super special. Leslie University, which I mentioned earlier with their building in Porter Square, otherwise has a number of buildings in the neighborhood in the Wendell Street area, as you see here. And it's mainly focused as a university on education and the fine arts. Harvard, as you see on the larger screen here, has a very large number of buildings. Among them is the Harvard Museum of Natural History, home to the famous glass flowers exhibit, one of the true tourist destinations in the city. And it's an extremely special collection of glass flowers that you can learn more about by watching this video if you return to the interactive map at cambridgerealestate.com. But it's just an extraordinary experience to see the glass flowers. So if you're in Cambridge and the museum is open and you have time, I hope that you'll find time to walk over there. There's also the Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology. And in this complex as well, there's a number of science offices for the university, including the Department of Chemistry. I remember walking down Oxford Street and seeing a newly minted PhD in chemistry at Harvard carrying a Magnum, having just been awarded his degree. Harvard Museum of the Ancient Near East is also found here with an interesting collection of artifacts. And then at the corner of the neighborhood close to the Harvard Law School is this large building, the Harvard University Science Center. And I remember when I was a Harvard student spending time here, having some classes in one of the large lecture halls. And it's really one of the crossroads of the Harvard campus. It's a very busy place. And there's a lot of people, activity, classes, events, lectures, labs. It's just one of those places that when you're there, you realize that Harvard is a big university with a lot of students, and there's a lot happening. So it's a big part of the neighborhood if you're a Harvard student. Just up Kirkland Street from the Science Center is the Center for European Studies, which is located in this beautiful building. And next to it is William James Hall, a 15-story building. It's a little out of the ordinary for there to be a 15-story building in this neighborhood that's otherwise made up of mostly much smaller buildings. And it went up in '63, and it's home to the Harvard Psychology Department. I remember taking a course here in a lecture hall or a larger space on the entrance level when I was a Harvard student, and it was designed by Yamasaki. And then again, further up Kirkland Street is the Nieman Foundation. It's home to the Nieman Fellows, a group of journalists from around the world who come to Harvard for a year of study. And, there's a list of very famous alum of the program. And I actually briefly worked here once upon a time. And it was really extraordinary to be exposed to all the wonderful things that are happening at the Nieman Foundation. And then down Francis Avenue, not far from the Nieman Foundation, is the Harvard Divinity School. And you can see here one of the principal buildings on the campus. And they have several buildings which have been recently renovated. And again, they're enjoying being parked in the middle of this neighborhood. And then the American Academy of Arts and Sciences is located as well in this neighborhood. And you see it here on the screen. They have a handsome building. It's fairly significant in size. And they have a large land area surrounding it that is rather amazing. People pass through the grounds and the pathway or pathways that surround the building. And it's a group of academic all-stars from all over who are members of this prestigious organization. So that's the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. And there I am. I am a realtor, and as a top agent over the last 20 plus years, I've helped a number of people both buy and sell residential real estate in the neighborhood. And here on the screen is these blue and green sold signs or properties that I've sold in my career. So if we zero in on the neighborhood, you can see it's been my good fortune to sell a number of properties in the Baldwin neighborhood over the years. And I just wanted to share with you a place I listed and sold in the last several years in the neighborhood, this N-unit townhome with a wood-burning fireplace. And dining area, nice outdoor deck, and multi-level living. Lovely family room above the living room and a couple of bedrooms, which you see here. Top floor study. Garage parking, which is so rare in the city, and a nice green space outdoors. So it gives you an idea of what you can find in the neighborhood. Another element of the neighborhood I wanted to share is Shady Hill Square off Holden Street. And just to help you understand where we are, if I go to the map and zero in this corner, you can see Kirkland Street runs down to Holden, and Holden Street approaching Scott Street is where you find this circle known as, or half circle known as Shady Hill Square. And so here's Shady Hill Square, and it's a collection of these stucco buildings. There we are, surrounding a green, which is sort of special. So that's a nice little sub-neighborhood, if you will, of the Baldwin neighborhood. It's interesting, too, that Julia Child once lived on Irving Street in the Baldwin neighborhood, and gosh, for 40 years, 61 to 2001. And you see here on the screen her famous kitchen, which was transformed into a television set for her famous television shows. And so she was a fixture in the neighborhood for 40 years. That kitchen was transferred to the Smithsonian. She ended up at the end of her life in California, and the house she lived in ended up, after she moved out, being renovated, and the kitchen was changed to a very contemporary modern one. So it would be almost impossible to know that this kitchen we see on the screen once was found in the house, because now it's very different. But it's great, good fun for people to know that she lived there. And there have been other famous residents of the Baldwin neighborhood: William James, E.E. Cummings, Harvard professor John Kenneth Galbraith, and many others. So, it's a neighborhood with its own cast of famous residents over the years. I'm on CambridgeRealEstate.com. This is a page dedicated to the neighborhood. And as I scroll down, you can see there's a link there where you can click to see what's available for sale at this time in Baldwin. Here's another video I've made on the neighborhood, and you can see at the time I made that, the video the name of the neighborhood was still Agassiz. It's now Baldwin. Here we are seeing the interactive map we're now on. Got some photos here of some of the colorful and inviting homes found in the Baldwin neighborhood. It's just such a great neighborhood. Can't say enough good things about it. Here I am. Charles Cherney, residential real estate agent, here to help you buy the right home or sell for the best price in the Baldwin neighborhood, formerly known as Agassiz, or in another named neighborhood of Cambridge or nearby Somerville. Reach out at any time by text, telephone, or email. If I can be of assistance, I welcome the opportunity to connect with you and be of service. And again, I hope you'll return to this interactive map and spend more time with it to learn more about the Baldwin neighborhood in Cambridge. Take care.